The first time his lips met the rim of my glass, I swear I felt something pour through me that had nothing to do with alcohol. It was a slow Thursday evening, the kind where the city hums low under dim bar lights. My husband was away on yet another business trip, and I was out, telling myself I only came for one drink and a moment to breathe. But then he walked in. He wasn't loud or flashy, just dangerously composed. A tailored suit, sleeves rolled, veins mapped across his forearms like a sin I wanted to trace. He sat 2 stools away, his cologne blending with the scent of bourbon and something faintly musky, like a whisper that dared me to forget my vows. I remember his first words. "That drink doesn't fit your eyes," he said, nodding to my half-empty glass of gin. I laughed, softly. "And what does?" He looked at me, too long, too deep, before motioning to the bartender. "A premium blend. Neat. Smooth enough to make her forget what she came here to remember." The bartender smirked. I froze. That was the moment I should have left. But I didn't. His voice was that slow kind of deep, the one that doesn't talk to your ears, but to your skin. And as the drink arrived, amber and burning, I watched him sip first. Then he passed it to me. The glass was still warm from his touch. I took a sip. And I swear, it tasted like him. That was how it started. Not with a kiss. Not even with a touch. Just a shared drink that felt more intimate than anything I'd ever done with my husband in months. My body was sober, but my mind, spinning. I looked up and whispered, "You shouldn't do that." He leaned in, his breath grazing my cheek. "Do what?" "Make me feel drunk before I've even finished my drink." He smiled, slow, devilish, confident. "Then maybe you should subscribe to the moment," he said. "Let it play out. You might even like it." Fire, call to action, YouTube style. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and stay with me, because this story, gets deeper, darker, and dangerously intoxicating. He told me his name, Elliot. A name that sounded expensive. And when he laughed, it was low and effortless, like he knew I was already slipping into his orbit. By the end of the night, my fingers brushed his when I reached for the last sip. It wasn't an accident. He didn't move away. The bar lights dimmed, the city quieted, but the air between us screamed everything we weren't supposed to say. That night, I didn't take his number. Didn't ask where he lived. But as I lay in bed hours later, my husband's pillow cold beside me, I could still taste that bourbon blend, and the ghost of his smile. And deep inside, I knew, one drink was never going to be enough. It's funny how temptation never announces itself. It creeps in softly, in glances, in scents, in laughter that lingers too long. That's how he began to live rent-free in my thoughts, even when I tried to evict him. I remember that night vividly, the night I stopped fighting him. The air inside the dim bar was heavy with whiskey breath and slow jazz. He wasn't even trying to seduce me. That was the dangerous part. His voice carried that slow, masculine calm that seemed to stroke every nerve in my body. Each time he leaned closer to talk, his scent, that musky blend of wood, cologne, and heat, intoxicated me far more than the drink I held. "You look like you want to be somewhere else," he said. "I do," I whispered. "Anywhere but here." "Then let's make our own place." That's when I stopped pretending I could resist him. Hey, if you're new here, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. There's more real stories like mine, raw, emotional, unfiltered. True infidelity tales told the way they happened. We left the bar in silence. The city outside was half asleep, streetlights flickering like slow blinks of guilt. His hand brushed mine once, twice, and then never left again. The car ride was a blur of heartbeats. The sound of the rain on the windshield mixed with the rhythm of our breathing. Inside his apartment, it felt like the world had dimmed for us alone. No questions. No names. Just heat and need. He looked at me the way a starving man looks at food he's not allowed to eat. I should have turned back. I should have remembered the ring hidden in my purse, but his eyes. God, his eyes stripped me faster than his hands ever could. Every touch burned through my defenses like dry paper. You taste like trouble, he murmured. Then take another sip, I whispered back. And he did. Slowly. Thoroughly. Recklessly. Afterward, I lay there, half breath, half shame, half wonder. The ceiling spun with the rhythm of guilt and pleasure dancing together. For the first time in a long while, I felt seen, not as a wife, not as a mother, not as a routine. Just as me. A woman. A storm. He turned to me, brushing a strand of hair from my cheek. You've been living like a half-empty glass, he said softly. Maybe, I replied. And you're the spill I didn't see coming. That night marked the beginning of my descent, the kind that feels like flying. I knew it wasn't love. But it was something crueler, something that made me crave him even when he wasn't around. His words followed me home. His scent clung to my dress. His voice echoed in my thoughts like a haunting I secretly enjoyed. If you've ever felt something that pulled you in too deep, too fast, hit that like button. Subscribe. You're not alone. These are real confessions, messy, honest, and human. I don't know what was more dangerous, the way his hands made me forget my name, or the way his voice made me remember I still had one. He called me baby, in that deep, husky tone that could melt defiance into surrender. It wasn't the first time he kissed me, but this time felt like the first time he owned me. He didn't rush, he studied me, like a man who already knew the answers but wanted to reread the book just to feel the words again. Breathe, he whispered against my skin, I don't want to rush this. I want you to remember this night when the world forgets you. And right there. I stopped pretending. Stopped pretending to be the perfect wife, the controlled woman, the calm mother. That night, I was just me, raw, trembling, and beautifully undone. If you're still listening to my story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications, because what happened after this night, even I didn't see coming. He made me feel seen, not just looked at. He made me feel tasted, not just touched. When I told him, you make me forget the world. He smiled and said, good. I've been trying to erase it. It was dangerous, this passion that had no brakes, no guilt, just hunger disguised as love. Every text from him became an adrenaline shot. Every meet-up, a gamble between pleasure and exposure. I wasn't addicted to him. I was addicted to the version of myself I became when I was with him, fearless, bold, alive. But love built on deceit has an expiry date. And mine was nearing fast. Stay with me till the end, because the next part? Even my reflection couldn't face me after that night. His lips tasted like danger, aged and smooth like the whiskey that always sat half-empty on his nightstand. The kind of taste you crave even when it burns your throat, even when you know it'll make you dizzy, reckless, and undone. I was already shaking when his hands found my waist again. My body leaned into his touch before my mind could stop it. My breath hitched, his scent, bourbon and rain, wrapped around me like a secret I could never confess. Don't stop this time, he murmured. His voice was low, textured, as if every word carried a promise and a warning in one breath. I didn't. I couldn't. And in that dimly lit apartment, where city lights spilled through half-open blinds, our bodies became poetry, messy, forbidden, beautiful. Each movement was a sentence. Each sigh, a confession. Somewhere between his fingers tracing my back and his breath against my neck, I thought about my husband. I thought about the ring I left on the marble counter before I came here, glinting like an accusation under the kitchen light. Tell me you want this, he whispered again. I wanted to lie. I wanted to say no. But the truth dripped from my lips like sin itself. I do. He smiled, the kind of smile that made me feel both powerful and weak, like I was the only one who could make him lose control. And then he kissed me again, slow at first, then deeper, hungrier. My thoughts scattered like raindrops against the windowpane. Halfway through, I caught myself whispering, God, this is wrong. He stopped just long enough to look at me, eyes dark and heavy. Then let's be wrong together. The room filled with the rhythm of something dangerous, something that felt too good to ever regret. The kind of passion that breaks boundaries, that rearranges your sanity. I clung to him, breathless, knowing I was too far gone to turn back. I remember the way the world outside went quiet, only the rain kept talking. I remember how every touch felt like a new confession I'd have to live with. At that moment, he was my addiction, my escape, my distilled premium. And I was his ruin. Hey, before we go deeper into this forbidden spiral, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who's ever tasted temptation and called it love. Because, this is only getting more intoxicating from here. His voice was the last thing I heard before my sanity melted. You know you'll never taste another man this way again, right? And I didn't even try to deny it. The air in that room was warm, thick with the scent of passion and guilt. Every time he touched me, it wasn't just flesh, it was the reminder that I was no longer the same woman I used to be. He had turned me into something else, someone else. A woman drunk not on wine, but on the distilled premium that was him. My body trembled beneath his weight, yet my mind floated, lost between heaven and humiliation. I knew this couldn't last. I knew I had to leave before the flame burned everything I held dear. But at that moment, his breath against my neck whispered otherwise. He didn't just consume me, he poured himself into me like I was a glass that couldn't get enough. There was no music playing, but our hearts kept the rhythm. Each moan, each sigh, each sinful whisper became the soundtrack of two people too far gone to return to reason. It wasn't love, it was need. Raw, intoxicating, dangerous need. At dawn, I slipped out of his arms and stared at the mirror. The reflection looking back wasn't the same woman who used to flinch at temptation. I was glowing, guilty, but glowing nonetheless. His touch was still on my skin, invisible but permanent. If you've ever been drunk on someone's presence more than any drink could ever give, I whispered. Then you know how I felt. He wasn't a man. He was my addiction, my intoxication. Before leaving his apartment, I turned and saw him still asleep, his lips slightly parted, like he was dreaming of the same chaos we had just created. And I smiled, because even if this affair ended, I'd always carry the aftertaste of his distilled premium within me. If this story made your heart race, your mind wander, or your body remember, then hit that like button, subscribe for more true infidelity confessions, and share this with someone who knows what it means to be drunk on desire. Because sometimes, love doesn't hurt the way betrayal does, it numbs you until you want more. Maybe it wasn't love, maybe it was addiction. But every time I remember his breath, his touch, his distilled premium that sank deep into my veins and clouded my sense of reason, I realize, some intoxications are worth the dizziness. I walked away before it ruined what was left of my sanity, but he still lives in the secret corners of my thoughts, sipping my memory like a glass he never finished. I was his escape, he was my undoing. And even now, my body still recalls the rhythm of his whispers, just one more night. Sometimes I tell myself it was a lesson. But deep down, I know it was pleasure, sweet, reckless, and unforgettable. So if you've ever tasted something forbidden that burned and healed you at the same time, you already know what I mean. Love letter, don't forget to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more real, raw, romantic confessions, because some stories deserve to be heard, even if they can never be repeated.